Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and welcome into Murder Your Bookie episode. Right now, we are at 21 at this point. We made two before the season episodes. We're in the playoffs. Week number 3, we're in the conference championship games. Hopefully, you guys do end up enjoying this video. In this video, we're going to be giving you guys our spread picks as well as our props, because as we get deeper into the playoffs, there's far less games. There's now only 3 games left in the NFL season. How sad, but it's okay. We're going to give you guys some picks here and have a great time right now. I am currently locked in at 39-39 on my picks. Lucas is 41-35. My locks are 11-7. Lucas is 10-8. Our totals are 50-47 for me. Lucas is 51-43. My total ROI is 51.55. Lucas's is 54.26. So if you took all of our picks, we are 101-90 combined ROI of 52.88, which shows, like Lucas said before the show, obviously you guys couldn't hear, it's pretty hard to predict 5 games every single week across the season and be super profitable. So we were right there in the middle, pretty much not making too much money, but not losing you any money. So if you guys have been taking all season, hopefully you guys had a good time on that. And if you followed us during some of our more profitable weeks and then faded us the other weeks, you probably would be making some serious money, because we're either typically really good or really bad, depending on the week. Like last week, very bad. The week before, pretty good. So do you have anything to say before we get into it?
No, I mean, I think if we're able to, we should access the super contest data, because they did the same thing with 5 picks a week to see where we would have ranked within there. Because yeah, I think this be kind of, maybe I'll see if I can get that this week for next week to see if that's even accessible.
Yeah, and for the Super Bowl episode, I'm going to go back and try and figure out how we did on those other bets that we did at the beginning of the season to tell you guys about that as well. Like if we were accurate at all. I mean, we did have the Jets' lowest record, and I believe that would have hit. They had the same wins as the Jags, right?
No, because I beat the Browns in week
Oh,
16 or whatever it was.
straight pain. Never mind then. Well, we were close at least. All right,
Sure.
so let's get into it. So are we even going to bother doing locks this week, or are we just going to go in order?
No, I just say we just give our game picks and then we have 3 props each.
All right, so we could just talk about the Bucs game first. Bucs at Packers. I think this is the first game of the day, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong. Bucs at Packers. Me and Lucas are both on the same side. Bucs plus 3.5. Personally, I think the Packers are a very good team, but I think this one is going to be very, very close. And I'll just take the team getting 3.5, because I think this could be a field goal game in Lambeau. Tom Brady used to playing in the cold. It's not even projected to be like something ridiculous where it's like 5 degrees or something. It's just like 29 degrees, just normal weather in wherever Tom Brady used to live in Massachusetts. So it should be fine over there in Boston. And now obviously he's in Tampa Bay. Maybe some of those guys are more cold, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's really going to matter. It's not a super cold frozen tundra game. So I do like the Bucs plus 3.5. I think as long as they have that game that they haven't had in the playoffs, a game like they had the first time they played the Packers, a game like they've had in the season where all the guys are buzzing. Didn't really have that in the playoffs. They've just kind of been coasting. And I think they have that really big game this week up against the Packers, and they're going to need it to win. So why do you got the Bucs plus 3.5?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you said about in a coin toss game, take the 3.5. We've done it all year. I did it last week with the Bucs. There's no, like, the only non-football edge you can give the Packers. This is Rodgers' first championship game at home with fans. Like, that's literally the only edge I'm going to give them, because the weather doesn't matter. Like, if you were to pick the second quarterback where they would be least affected by Lambeau's weather, it'd be Brady, because he played tons of playoff games outdoors, tons of AFC Championship games outdoors in Boston. So I think it's just, you just take the 3.5. I know some books have the 3, so like shop around if you can. Honestly, like the bet that I took was Chiefs and Bucks money line. Like that's the other one I actually bet this week. I think it paid like plus 320. I don't know. It's just, I think they're obviously, we saw in week 6, like they were the most equipped team to beat the Packers, and I mean they killed them in that game. Obviously, I don't think it'll be like that, because the Packers were just a little unprepared in that sense. But the Bucs should have Vita Vea back, which helps up the middle. Their D line has been fine all year. I want to say it's Carlton Davis that shut down Michael Thomas, but I always get them confused. Who their cornerback one is. I mean, Adams will not be shut down.
Yeah,
Clearly, we
can't
saw
show
that
him
last week, but they can slow him down, and they don't allow big plays where MVS can't really go over the top, which is going to help too. So yeah, I like 3.5, and I mean you're taking 3.5 on a team that has zero Gronk help. Mike Evans got shut down last week, and AB looked kind of bad too. So I think if they bounce back, they'll be in a good spot to have a home game in the Super Bowl here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, plus they have one of the best running backs in playoff history, playoff Leonard Fournette. So be afraid.
That's
All
true.
right. All right. Our next game, we got the Bills at the Chiefs. Me and Lucas are on two different sides here, so we can't go a perfect 10-0 this week, but that's okay. Same thing happened last week. I was all up on the Browns. Lucas liked the Chiefs, and we all know how that one went. So, Patrick Mahomes died. So not really on you. So I'd like the Bills +3. Lucas likes the Chiefs -3. Now, obviously, we have no idea right now if Mahomes is going to play or not, but the assumption is he's going to play, in my opinion. I talked about this in a video a few days ago. DraftKings would not allow you to bet on this, in my opinion, if they thought Mahomes wasn't going to play. They locked down a game earlier this season when Stafford wasn't going to play. They literally didn't let you bet it, so I don't know why they would let you bet an excessive amount of money on the Chiefs or the Bills if they believed Mahomes wasn't going to play. So I think he's going to play, but I like the Bills. My pick from earlier on in the playoffs was the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I've called for this for weeks, and I think they are going to potentially do it. Now, Lucas likes the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, and I won't judge him as either. I think really either team that comes out of the AFC is the best equipped to win that Super Bowl, unless, of course, it is Tom Brady, because Tom Brady will magically win, because that's just what always happens, because the NFL is rigged at that point if that ends up happening. Bills +3 is my pick. I think this one's going to be close as well. There should be no real weather effects. It's not like it's going to be -7,000 in Kansas City as well. Both of these teams are colder weather teams. Even if the wind is a bit of an effect like we saw in Buffalo, I'm not all that worried. I think this is going to be an average weather game, and I think the Bills are just going to keep it in this game, and it's going to be close. But I could definitely see the Chiefs just completely blowing their back out. That is really the only reason why I guess you go with the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are just a fucking dominant team, and the Bills haven't really had a good game either. Kind of just like the Bucs in the playoffs, they kind of just coasted their way here. So that is worrisome, I guess. So why do you like the Chiefs -3?
Yeah, I think like part of it is people watched the last two games of the Bills and like over assumed like they assume that like the Lamar's not good and the Bills defense is elite. And yeah, he threw the pick, but besides that, like the game was there. The Bills almost let Tyler Huntley come back on them. Like I don't know. The Chiefs are at home for one, and their defense plays double. If you were to set a rating on a team's defense, they play double what that is at home. It's because
Yeah.
their coaches are fantastic and they just really game plan against these teams. And I want to say there's a little bit of a look ahead mind because they got to watch the Bills win. And they
Yeah.
knew they were playing the Cleveland Browns to go to the AFC Championship. Obviously, the game was closer because Mahomes got hurt. The
Mhm.
game would have been a 14 to 17 point game if Mahomes stayed in because he was literally unstoppable in that game.
Yeah.
They have Tyreek, who's literally unguardable. We saw that last week. If Denzel Ward can't guard him, I'm not going to say that Travis White can or can't, but it's going to be tough. Kelsey gets his every time. I don't know if CEH is back. I don't really know if it matters, but just adding a weapon
It
to
doesn't
Darrell
matter.
Williams, to Darrell Williams and Lev Bell, I mean, it just helps. Watkins should be back, I hope. Besides that, I mean, the way to beat Josh Allen is how you beat Mahomes. You don't blitz. You just drop back in coverage and you make him throw the ball on you. And the Ravens did not do that last week. The Colts did. Obviously, the Colts shot himself in the foot and should have won the game. And so we'll see. I mean, the Bills could do the same thing, though. The Bills actually are probably smart enough to drop back on them. So it's really just going to come down to a QB matchup to me. I don't really see any other edges outside of that. But in the end, I'm just going to take Mahomes -3 with the playoff experience, with really the big game experience. Allen really hasn't had very many big games where he's had to put the team on his back this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna take Chiefs -3, and this
Okay.
could be influenced by my abundance of Chiefs Super Bowl bets, I guess. But yeah, it'll be a good game. Probably best game of the year. Maybe Super Bowl will be better, but I think this is probably the best game of the year so far.
Yeah, I agree. This is a real big game in the AFC. So now we're going to give you guys our player props. I guess we'll just go randomly. I'll go first. I like Singletary under 39.5 yards, -112. If I'm being honest with you guys, Singletary hasn't rushed for over 25 yards in their playoff appearances this season. In the season, he has rushed for over 39 yards a couple of times, obviously, but far and in between, if I'm being honest with you. He does have these big games where he drops like 86 yards, but then you see other games where he's getting like 15, 29, 32, 20, 7, like 21, 25 are his 2 playoff performances. Like, I really don't expect him to really go off. Now, they need to establish the run to win this game, but the issue is they just simply cannot because Devin Singletary is just a complete dumpster fire. They don't even have Zach Moss, but they'll still run the third string guy whose name's escaping me. Animal loves this guy, but I forgot his name.
Oh gosh, Yeldon.
Yeldon. TJ Yeldon is in there. It's just, I don't know. I mean, Singletary should be able to get over 39.5 yards, but based on what I've seen, I'll just hammer the under as it's hit like 3-4 games in a row for Singletary. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's outrageously high. I don't.
He hasn't hit over 39 since week
Yeah,
15 against Denver.
yeah, and that game was a complete blowout. Where, to be honest, I think I remember he hit like one big run, and besides that, like they just don't use him because they would rather run the ball to Josh Allen than him. And honestly, I don't blame him. Like I'd rather run it with Josh Allen than Singletary anyway. So yeah, this is definitely an underplay. They should be losing. Should be losing, or it should be a shootout game where they're going to throw it. Even when they've been up, they haven't even ran the ball with him. So yeah, I think that's a good play at under 39.5.
All right, who's your first prop here?
My first one is Mike Evans under 63.5 receiving yards. I think it's 63 at DraftKings, a little lower at FanDuel. He's going to get his name's Jair Alexander, probably the best lockdown corner in the league in my opinion. Obviously Ramsey's up there, but Alexander is going to probably just shadow Evans because they're going to fix the slot with their safeties and Kevin King, leaving AB as the guy to beat them on the opposite side. So 63.5. He's obviously had games higher than that, but for him to hit this with a lockdown corner, he's going to need 7 to 8 targets, and he really doesn't get that anymore unless the games have been like complete blowouts. Like the last 3 games of the season against like the Lions, teams like that, he was getting the targets. But before that, he wasn't. So I think it's just a little too high. I wouldn't like shy away from taking the over on receptions and over on touchdown just because that seems to be what he usually gets. But he'd need a lot of target volume against Alexander. I know Brady's smart just to not throw it his way and not even mess with it, especially in a big game like this.
Yeah, Brady just spreads the ball around so evenly that I feel like on any given week, it's pretty easy for any of these guys to hit the under. I think Godwin, in my opinion, is going to have a pretty good game. He would be my next pick. I have Godwin over 63.5 yards. I think Godwin's going to have a really big game. So, yeah, I understand Evans going under. So that makes a lot of sense. And again, I went with Godwin over 63.5 minus 118. Godwin hasn't really had that great of a game recently, but I think he really will pick it back up here in Lambeau. Not up against their best corner, so it should be much easier for Godwin to have a better game. What do you think about Godwin?
Yeah, I agree. I think we're just kind of waiting for the very high target volume game coming from him. It kind of like it looks like it's going to happen every game.
Yeah.
The Bucs just kind of like do their thing and spread the ball around and run the ball for net. So if he gets 6-7 targets, this should hit really easy. In a matchup like this, he honestly should because Packers run D is pretty good, and then obviously Alexander will be on Evans the whole game.
Yeah. What's your next pick here?
My next one here is Josh Allen under 305.5 passing yards. He's kind of bounced around from smashing this to not even coming close to this. Is not really a good like median projection for him. And I'm just going to ride this one on the back of Chiefs defense at home in a big game like this. I mean, I'm not going to compare him to Baker, but we saw what they did to Baker last week. Took away any sort of rhythm that he had, anything going on there. So I'm just going to kind of bank on them coming out hot, giving him looks that he can't really beat. Making him force the ball down to Beasley and Dawson Knox instead of getting his Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs over the top. So yeah, I mean, I can see where he smashes that just due to a shootout, but like you're talking extreme value of like him hitting 306, which he's been hitting like 330 in his shootout game. So some room to spare. I think I'm just going to take the under at 305 on this one.
All right. Well, I can see that, but again, I took the Bills, so I think he's going to go over, obviously, because the Bills would need to put up an absurd amount of points in order to beat them. And then my final pick here is Travis Kelce touchdown minus 125. Now I know obviously you got to eat a little more juice on that, but at the end of the day, Travis Kelce in the playoffs, he's good in the regular season. He's even better in the postseason. Mahomes is looking for him all over the end zone. If the Bills want to win this game, they have to put like 6 dudes on Travis Kelce and just hope that one of the other people don't torch him. And especially in the red zone, you have to be just standing on top of Travis Kelce. This guy's a fucking beast. He's going to score a touchdown, in my opinion. He may even score 2 if this game is as high scoring as I believe it will be. So I like Kelce minus 125 to score a touchdown. Probably bet it again in the Super Bowl if they make it.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably score once or twice or 3 times in this game. Another one, too, that we were talking about is the Super Bowl MVP, those early lines. Kelsey's plus 1,800, and even Mahomes is like plus 400. Like, go take those now if you think they're going to win, because Mahomes will be plus 150 and Kelsey will be plus.
I don't even think it'll be plus 150. I think it'll be minus 110 in the Super Bowl.
Kelsey might be plus 150 because I would imagine he'd be third, maybe fourth on the list because it'd be like Rodgers and Adams or like Brady and because if the Bucs win it, it'll be Mahomes, Brady, Kelsey. If the Packers win it, it'll be Mahomes, Rodgers, Adams, Kelsey. I could see. So if you like those two, I'd go place those now because you're not going to get that good of lines next week, especially because if the Chiefs win, it's probably on the back of Mahomes and Kelsey anyway, so that'll just boost their odds up even more. So I like that a lot and take those early ones. My final one here is Gronk under 29.5 receiving yards. He could get this in one play, and he could easily do that. I can easily see that. I wish he would because I played him in a lot of DFS last week, had a couple bets, and he just does not look that great in terms of like catching the ball. Like they've been using Cam Brate a decent amount. They've been using Scotty Miller a decent amount. They just spread the ball around, and I think based on what he's done this year to get 30 receiving yards, he's going to need to get 4 or 5 targets. And if the chemistry's not there at the beginning, we've seen the last 2 games, they just avoid him, which like makes sense because they're smart. They have other weapons. Yet he could try and go right to him, but he did that last week in the end zone. He looked right at him, wanted to throw a slant to him, put it in his hands, and he dropped it. Didn't look at him the rest of the game. So I'm not saying he's going to do that again this week, but 30 just seems like a lot when he's been either in the 70 range or in like the 10-yard range, kind of like the Josh Allen sort of spectrum. So I like to get into 30 here. Seems pretty right down the middle of where you'd want to bet it under.
Yeah, even if he ends up scoring, he may just literally get 15 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I have him on my playoff team where you have players throughout the whole playoffs, and he is just screwing the pooch for me. I have Ronald Jones as well. They both just sold out for me. But yeah, I think Gronk could definitely have a good game. But even if he scores a touchdown or 2, he may even finish under 30 yards because when they're looking for Gronk, they're looking in the red zone. At least as of recently. Early on in the season, Gronk was useless. And then in the middle of the season, he was actually torching. Now we're back at useless category for Gronk. So maybe we'll have a bounce back game. But again, like you said, he's been so inconsistent that the under 29.5 is definitely a solid bet. So do you have anything else to add? Anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
Nah, go Chiefs. Hopefully I guess not next week, but by 2 weeks when we record this, I'm sitting in a good leverage spot with all my Chiefs bets.
Hopefully for your sake. So we will be back in 2 weeks. Next week, there will be no episode unless we just start talking about basketball or something for one day randomly. I don't know. But have a great rest of your guys' day. I hope you guys did end up enjoying this video. Let us know what you want to see for the Super Bowl episode. Do you guys want to see 7 million prop bets? Because maybe we'll just do that. Maybe we'll try to figure out what color Gatorade is dumped on Andy Reid's head or something. Because I've tried to do that multiple years and it never works. I don't think I've ever once figured it out. The national anthem is the easiest bet, but those are never on like DraftKings or FanDuel. Typically, you have to bet on an offshore site to find those. Like MyBookie, code notoriously at checkout. So shout out to them. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Follow Lucas on Twitter. Lucas has a new Twitter, which is on your screen right now. I have the same Twitter. Follow that. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Good boy.